学姐, and welcome to my Semmelweis question bank masterclass. So, if you are preparing for the entrance exam of Semmelweis, you are in the right place. So, in this course, we will go through every question step by step. I will explain what's really being tested, share memory tricks, and teach you how to answer clearly and confidently in English. And whether you are just starting or already reviewing the topics, my goal is to help you to understand, not just to memorize. Ready? Let's start with our question bank, section 1. So before we start, I want to explain you the forms of the Semmelweis entrance exam. It has 4 subjects, which are chemistry, biology, English, and medical English. So the core part, biology and chemistry, are much more difficult for Chinese students because we have to read the question really quickly. For the English and medical English, I think for high school students in China, the knowledges are not hard. It's basically simple grammar questions or vocabulary meanings. So here the 4 subjects, they got 20 questions each, so you have 8 questions total. You have to answer these questions within 3 hours, but you only have 20 minutes for each subject, so you have to answer 20 questions within 20 minutes, I think. Then you're gonna have a break and wait for the next exam to begin. So let's go to our first question. Which of the following is or are primarily endocrine organs? So the correct answer is atlas. It's atlas of Langerhans. The atlas of Langerhans is Langerhansdal. So actually, it is part of the pancreas to excrete insulin and glucagon to regulate your blood glucose level. And for the option A, tonsils. Tonsil is 扁桃体. Actually, it is part of your immune system, not endocrine. And the large intestine is 大肠, so it's part of your digestive system. And the parotid glands is one of the major saliva glands, which located in your face. And spleen is 脾脏, so it's a lymphoid organ to filter blood, so also not endocrine. And next goes to a blood vessel that carries the oxygenated blood towards the lung is which part? So here we have to be aware of the blood pathways from the superior vena cava to aorta to your whole body. You have to know the whole process because in the oral exam, it also can be tested. The examiner may want to ask you to explain the whole process with the key parts of the heart. So the correct answer is a pulmonary artery. Yes, most arteries carry oxygenated blood, but the pulmonary artery is an exception. And the aorta, basically it carries oxygenated blood from heart to your whole body. It's actually one of the main segment artery. And for the pulmonary vein, it actually carries deoxygenated blood from body to your heart. Then its systemic artery is to transport oxygenated blood from heart to your whole body to give blood supplies to the organs and tissues. So here we have to be aware of the terminology. Pulmonary artery is 肺动脉, deoxygenated blood is 缺氧的血, oxygenated blood 是充满氧气的血液. So let's move to the next one. Where does final concentration of the urine occur in the nephrons? So here it actually tests your knowledge about the structure and their functions in the nephrons. So it also can be tested in the oral exam. It's part of the kidney. So the examiner may want to know the nephron structure. You have to explain each part with their detailed functions. So here, the final concentration is in the collecting duct. Collecting duct is a tube in the nephron that collect urine from the distal convoluted tube, and it is responsible for the final concentration of urine. And in the loop of Henle is actually a U-shaped portion of the nephron that helps to create a concentration gradient. Gradient 是梯度哈. So in the renal medulla, but doesn't directly achieve the final concentration. And in the distal convoluted tube, it can also be asked in other written tests. It's actually a key part to regulate electrolyte balance and pH of the urine. And in the proximal convoluted tube, it's the main site for the reabsorption of nutrients, such as ions and water. Next, which statement is true? So here, the correct answer is a human skeletal muscle cells can produce ATP even in the lack of oxygen. Yes, this is called anaerobic respiration. So your skeletal muscles could go through this process. That is why your muscle feel fatigue and a little bit sore after a lot of exercise. And B is citric acid cycle. Is part of the oxygenated process, which is aerobic respiration, which also known as Krebs cycle. It's also one of the hot topics that the oral examiner may want to know. So actually, it's a breakdown of glucose with oxygen, not in the lack of oxygen. So C, ATP is produced from the breakdown of amino acids in the lack of oxygen. It is wrong. It's actually, you have to break down the amino acids with oxygen. And the anaerobic glucose breakdown yields lactose. Lactose and lactic acid are totally different things. So here we have to remember lactose is 乳糖. Actually, the breakdown of anaerobic glucose yields lactic acid. 它产生的是乳酸. Next, red blood cells are capable of both aerobic and anaerobic glycosis. So we have to know red blood cells doesn't have nucleus, so it doesn't have mitochondria. So it only can do anaerobic glycosis. Okay. Next. So here, it asked which segment is false regarding myosin. Myosin is 肌球蛋白, together with actin 肌动蛋白, which are the main components in muscle contraction. The muscle contraction that relies on a theory, which is the sliding filament theory, 滑动丝理论. So 肌球蛋白和肌动蛋白是两个最主要的 participants. So here it asked, okay, regarding myosin, together with actin, it is a major component of skeletal muscle tissue. Yes. It combined and hydrolyzed ATP. Yes, because this is actually one of the last few steps in muscle contraction to power the process. And it is involved in the contraction of skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, but not in cardiac muscle. So actually, Myosin and actin are involved in the three types of muscles: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles. And the examiner also would like to know the differences and the key features of these three types of muscles, so be aware of that. It is present in cells other than the various muscle cells. Yes, it is a polypeptide and part of the protein complex in the cell. Yes. Next, which statement is false about transcription? Transcription, translation, and replication, which are the core three things. You have to know each steps. So be careful with these three process. The examiner, both written and oral examiner, want to know if you understand these three process, because these three are the key process and the most basic ones. So here, transcription is 转录, so it is actually the process of synthesizing RNA from a DNA template. So it is DNA involved has a template strand and a coding strand. Yes. It is catalyzed by RNA polymerase using deoxyribonucleoside triphosphates. Actually, it is wrong. It's not DNTPs, it's actually RNTPs. Okay, so ribonucleoside triphosphate. Next one, it begins at the promoter. Yes, that is a very first step of transcription. The RNA strand is complementary and antiparallel to the template DNA strand. Yes, the new strand is synthesized in 5 to 3 direction. If it is correct, you have to memorize all the right facts about transcription because it's gonna be tested in oral exams. Next one, which of the following system organ pairs match? Yes, it tests your knowledge about the key systems in human bodies. There are quite a few systems. You have to know the core organs in these systems and the function of these organs. So here the first one, urinary system, is 泌尿系统. So spleen, obviously it is wrong because as we mentioned, spleen is part of the lymphatic system. And digestive system, duodenum, yes, duodenum is 12指肠, so it is correct. Respiratory system, 呼吸系统 bronchus, 支气管, yes. Reproductive system, 生殖系统 ovaries, 卵巢. Be aware of ovaries. 我们一直要用复数. Why? Because women have 2 ovaries. Endocrine system, tonsils. No, tonsil, as we discussed before, it is part of your immune system, right? So here, be aware of these systems in human body and please remember all the organs in these systems. Next one, small intestinal cell secrete digestive enzyme which are synthesized in which part of the cell. So here it actually tests your understanding of which digestive enzyme small intestinal cell secrete and what is the categories of this enzyme. Are these enzyme proteins or lipid, right? So for small intestine cells, the enzyme is actually proteins. So here, the rough ER synthesized proteins. So the correct answer is the rough ER, the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So here, let's review the compartments of the eukaryotic cells because it is often asked in the oral exam as well. It's actually quite easy. If you got this question, then you're lucky because the examiner just wanted you to explain the main compartments of the eukaryotic cells. So for the lysosome is an organelle containing digestive enzyme for intracellular digestion, right? For the peroxisome is 过氧化物酶体, so it's actually to break down fatty acids and detoxify hydrogen peroxide. Okay, there are other compartments like nucleus, nucleolus, Raphael, smooth ER, Golgi. So you have to remember every one of them. Next, which of the following diseases is not caused by a virus? This is part of your common sense, right? So as obviously is caused by a HIV virus. Chickenpox is 水痘, so it's actually it's a virus-caused diseases called Varicella zoster. Nowadays, chickenpox is fully cured by human with vaccination. Next, flu is caused by influenza. It's also a virus. Herpes 疱疹, so it's also caused by the herpes simplex virus. There are actually several types of virus that could cause herpes because there are herpes in your lips and also in your genitals. So, for example, the HSV1 could cause herpes on your lips, and for the HSV2 could cause genetic herpes. And herpes cannot be cured at the time being. Next, which statement is false? So for the option A, estrogen are steroid hormones. Yes, estrogen is one of the key female hormones to facilitate female puberty development. 青春期的这个女性特征的第二性征estrogen. And estrogen is produced by ovaries, 是卵巢 produced. Now, B antibodies are produced in B cells and plasma cell. Yes. And C carbohydrates are the proteins are not secreted in the urine. Yes, as we mentioned, the nutrients will be reabsorbed in which part of the nephron? Can you recall? Yes, in the proximal convoluted tube, 在进去小管被重新吸收. Then urea is a waste product for detoxification of ammonia. Yes, it is true. Insulin is a peptide hormone and glucagon is a steroid hormone. As we mentioned before, insulin and glucagon are antagonists. They are both produced by the islets of Langerhans, and they're both peptide hormone, not steroid. Glucagon is not a steroid hormone. So here it tests your understanding about hormones and the categories of hormones. So what is peptide hormone? Peptide hormone is a kind of water-soluble hormone made of amino acids. And a steroid hormone is lipid-soluble hormone derived from cholesterol. It's also part of the knowledge in the oral exam you have to know. So steroid hormone, the examiner may want to ask you to make examples, right? So steroid hormone, the key sexual hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. These three typical sexual hormones are steroid hormone. And cortisol is also steroid hormone. Okay, next one. Which is hemoglobin located? So here actually it tests your understanding about components of the blood, right? So it is in the cytoplasm of red blood cells, yes, because hemoglobin is 血红蛋白, it's an iron-containing protein responsible for binding and transporting oxygen in red blood cells. We have to know how many oxygen on a hemoglobin can bind. It's 4 because it has 4 subunits. each subunit has one iron to bind with one oxygen. So in total, it can bind 4 oxygen. In the nucleus of red blood cells, obviously it is wrong because red blood cells doesn't have a nucleus. Why? Because in this way, it could increase its surface area so that it could be more efficient in transporting oxygen. Okay. So C in the red muscle cells, no, it has myoglobin, not hemoglobin. And in the cytoplasma platelets is 血小板. It doesn't even have a hemoglobin because there are many for blood clotting 哈，它是凝血功能。In the blood plasma 血浆 no, because plasma is mainly made of water, electrolytes, and proteins like albumin, not hemoglobin. Next one, which of the following organs is not involved in the process of digestion? So here, of course, it's your understanding of digestion process. So here is pituitary gland, because pituitary gland is one of the endocrine organ, right? It regulates glands about hormone secretion 哈，它是最主要的一个分泌荷尔蒙的一个器官 together with hypothalamus in your brain. Okay, the first one, sublingual gland, 舌下腺 yes, it's a salivary gland under your tongue. Gallbladder, 胆囊, it stores and releases bile to help in fat digestion 哈，它释放胆汁，然后辅助于你的脂肪消化 in small intestine, right? So here, and submandibular gland, it's a major salivary gland underneath your mandible. Your mandible is a bone. Where is your chin? Okay, it's called mandible. It secretes saliva rich in amylase. Amylase is a kind of enzyme to digest starch. 好，这个叫唾液淀粉酶。Okay, next one is parotid glands, as we mentioned. It's the largest salivary gland to secrete watery saliva with enzymes, such as amylase as well. It's located in your cheek, both cheeks, so you have 2 parotid glands. Next one, which statement is false? So here, the correct answer is epithelial tissue has a high cell extracellular matrix ratio. Okay, not the other way around. And B, smooth muscle cells have a resting potential. Yes, so that like all the muscles. Blood is a kind of collective tissue. Yes, because it originated from mesenchyme and has an extracellular matrix, which is called plasma as well. And next one, the protein content of the extracellular matrix is different in various types of connective tissue. Yes, of course. And both epithelial and smooth muscle tissues are present in blood vessel. Yes, correct. Here, epithelial tissue is 上皮组织 So extracellular matrix is 细胞外的基质 Okay. Smooth muscle cells is 平滑肌细胞平滑肌 Smooth muscle is one of the muscle type where you can find your inner organs like blood vessels, intestines. It's really it has a really slow movement. Okay, so what is a collective tissue? 结缔组织 is actually a group tissue characterized by abundant extracellular matrix providing support and structure. Okay, Next one. Which of the following diseases traits follow polygenic inheritance? Polygenic, poly here is more, so here is multiple genic, so it's 多基因遗传. So which one is 多基因遗传? Hemophilia is single gene X linked. 它是血友病哈 and you can find actually more men could have hemophilia because men only have one X chromosome. So statistically, more men could have hemophilia. B, hepatitis. No, it's an infectious disease, not inherited. Hepatitis 肺炎, right? Sorry, hepatitis 肝炎. Sorry, my bad. Color blindness, 色盲 is actually single gene X linked. Obesity is polygenic because it could be influenced by multiple genes that could impact metabolism, appetite, and fat storage. Albinism is 白化病. We have to alb. 这个 prefix is a Latin word, means white. So white, a kind of disease is that whitening. So it's 白化病. It's a single gene recessive disorder caused by mutation that affecting melanin synthesis. Next one, sodium chloride would be most soluble in where? It's a chemistry question. So actually it is most soluble in water. So here, sodium chloride is 氯化钠. It's an allylic compound composed of sodium ions and chloride ion. It's a polar solvent, right? So, next one is here, nitrogen and oxygen give nitrogen monoxide in an endothermic reaction. So here is endothermic reaction. They could give nitrogen monoxide. So which of the following change still shift the equilibrium to the right? Actually, here it's all about endothermic reaction and also the Chatelier's principle. So what is Le Chatelier's principle? It's known as a dynamic equilibrium is disturbed by changing the condition, then the position of the equilibrium could move to counteract the change, right? So endothermic reaction is a reaction that absorbs heat from the surroundings. So here it says under what kind of condition it will shift to the right. Shift to the right, it means to generate more products. So here the equilibrium mirror mixture is heated, yes, right? Because it's an endothermic reaction. And the pressure is increased, no. The number of molecules gas on the reactant side is actually increased, so it's not changing the pressure has no effect on the position of the equilibrium. And third, some of the nitrogen peroxide is removed from the equilibrium mixture. Yes. A catalyst is added. No, the catalyst is added will speed up the both forward and reverse reaction, but it's not gonna change the position of the equilibrium. So the correct answer is 1 and 3. So you have to choose C. So this tests your understanding of endothermic reaction, chemical equilibrium, and the Chatelier's principle. So basically how the temperature could change the chemical equilibrium. Actually, the similar question could be asked. They may change the wording. Maybe they're gonna say, okay, under what kind of condition in the exothermic reaction, it will shift to the left or something like that. So do not memorize the answers. Try to understand the knowledge behind it. Okay, next. What kind of the functional group do the following compounds contain respectively? So respectively here means 分别的, okay? So the functional group 是官能团. So here are the key functional group involved in biology and chemistry in the entrance exam. So here the CH3COH is actually carboxyl group, right? You can find in carboxylic acids. It's an acidic group that could donate hydrogen ions. 中文叫羧基. Then urea. So urea, you will have amide. Then it's a 7H2. It's derived from carboxylic acid by replacing OH with NH2. And it's a 酰胺基. Okay. You have to, we will get to understand these key things because these key things are also in condensation reactions. Ester, methyl acetate is actually ester, is COOR. 是酯基哈，因为这个 methyl acetate 叫乙酸甲酯 so it's ester. Then it's CH3, NHCH3. It is amine. Okay, it's derived from ammonia. 叫氨基. Next one, sodium chloride. Sorry, I think they got more types. They got some typos. So here, this is a key question. In which of the following processes are primary chemical bonds broken? So it's actually electrolysis of water, melting of butter is not, and the sublimation of dry ice also not, dissolution of glucose in water also no. So here is where is like one under what kind of situation the chemical bonds broken. Electrolysis 叫水的电离. So only in this situation the water molecule are decomposed into hydrogen and oxygen. So this process will break the covalent bonds in water. And the rest three options are all just physical change. 它只是一些物理的变化. Next one, which statement is false? So the first one, enzyme lower the activation energy of a chemical reaction. Yes, that is how it works. And what is activation energy? We have to memorize, we have to know the definition of it because it can be asked by oral examiner to explain how enzyme or catalyst works. So activation energy is a minimum energy that is required by a reaction to happen. So next one, NADH is a reduced redox coenzyme. Yes. Next one, coenzyme A is a carrier of acyl groups. Yes. Next one, the enzyme that catalyzes the citric cycle are present in all human cells. No. Red blood cells doesn't have mitochondria, so it cannot support this process. And competitive inhibitors bind to the active side of the enzyme. Yes, it is true. This is part of the competitive inhibition where the inhibitor, or we call it reverse inhibition of enzymes. There are three types of them: competitive inhibition, incompetitive, uncompetitive. We have to know each of them and how it works. Next one. In the process of gametogenesis, how many chromosomes does human cells contain before and after meiosis? 1. So here it tests your understanding of meiosis. So meiosis 1, it will produce haploid cells, 单倍体细胞. So before that is 46, after that is 23. So here we have to know what is gametogenesis. 配子的发生 is actually a process by which gametes, which sperm or egg cells, are produced through meiosis, 减数分裂. Meiosis, mitosis are different, and which are the key process you have to remember. 减数分裂和有丝分裂的具体步骤是会考的。Meiosis 1 is a reductional division in which homologous chromosomes separate, cutting the chromosome number in half, also known as haploid cells. Diploid cells 是2倍体 ，OK? Triploid 3倍体 is a kind of diseases, genetic diseases. Okay, next one. Which cellular structure is membrane-free? It's a ribosome, obviously. Next one. A person's blood group type is O. What can be the genotype of this person? So this tested your understanding of dominant and recessive genes. So actually, the blood type O is recessive. So only 2 recessive genes will have a genotype of O, so it only can be homozygous OO. Okay. Homozygous, it means 纯合, so it means both allele are the same. Heterozygous 是杂合子, it means 2 different alleles. Alleles is 等位基因, so what is allele? Allele is a different version of a gene. So for the blood group, it has an ABO system that has 3 allele, A, B, O. Okay, and A and B are dominant, and O is recessive. Next one, hydrogen bonds may be formed between the molecule of which part? Of course, it's acetic acid, because the hydrogen bond can formed between the atoms such as oxygen, nitrogen, and fluorine. Okay, why is that? Because it has a lone pair of electrons. So it's so much easier. And the acetic acid, it contains the OH group. We also know a hydroxyl group, Tiangji, and the carbonyl group within the carboxyl group, functional group, so which allows extensive hydrogen bond between molecules. Next one, which of the following physical properties indicate the presence of weak molecular forces? 一个弱的分子之间的作用力. So here you have to choose high vapor pressure. 高蒸汽压. So what does that mean? It means the pressure exerted by a vapor in equilibrium with its liquid at a given temperature. So high vapor pressure means it's easy to evaporate. And a high melting point actually means strong intermolecular forces, because you need even higher temperature to break the bond. High boiling point, high boiling point, high melting point is the same. And high viscosity. Viscosity is 粘性, so it's also a strong intermolecular forces. And high surface tension, 表面的张力 is also the same. Think about water, it has surface tension. Okay, so that the insects can walk on the surface, 对吧？昆虫可以在水面上奔跑，它就是因为有水面的这种张力。Is also the presence of strong intermolecular force, 它是比较强的分子间的作用力。Next one, which statement is false regarding reaction heat? So here it tests your knowledge about heat. chemistry, thermochemistry. So exothermic reaction, endothermic reaction, entropy, and the key terminology. So here, this negative sign means the reaction is exothermic. Yes. Its positive sign means the reaction cools down the surroundings. Yes. Because it absorbs the heat from the environment. So that cools down the environment. Its unit is joule per mole. Yes, it's joule. And this question could be in the blank filling questions. So be aware of this. It depends on the initial and the final states as well as on the steps of the reaction. This is wrong. Why is that? Because it only depends on the initial and the final states, but not on the steps of the reaction. 这个过程是没有关系的。E, it is energy transferred during the chemical reaction. Yes, that is true. Next one. Enantiomers are what? Enantiomers 是对应一个体 is optical isomers that are non-superimposable mirror image of each other. So it's C is optical isomer, also a complete mirror images. Okay. Next one. Which of the following is a colligative property? 依数性质 colligative property. What is colligative property? It's a kind of property of a solution that depends only on the number of the particle of the solute, but not depends on the nature of them. So, for example, it has 4 typical colligative property, and a freezing point depression is one of them because lowering of the solvent's freezing point when a solute is added is actually changed because of the particles of the solute. So here are the 4 of them: boiling point elevation, freezing point depression, and vapor pressure lowering, and osmotic pressure. What is osmotic? 渗透压. So we're going to talk about osmotic because it's also one of the main topics in the oral exam. There are 3 situations: isotonic, hypertonic, hypotonic. We have to know each situations, what happens to your cells. So in hypo